Now, to discuss this topic and all the week's political news, we want to welcome KTVU political analyst Brian Sobel to the show this morning. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Allie.
Let's start with what happened in Minneapolis. Do you think the deadly shooting of the 37-year-old mother, Renee Good, will lead to any changes at the congressional level when it comes to funding ICE?
There will be a lot of talk in Congress. I think there'll be pushback by Republicans for any substantive change, and so Democrats who don't have the numbers on the House side won't be able to do much unless a bunch of Republicans came over and said, we're willing to look at this situation differently with respect to the funding of ICE. I don't see the funding of ICE being part of another government shutdown. I think Democrats last time learned, and did Republicans, that a shutdown is just not healthy for America.
Even so, does this tragedy, the shooting that happened, represent some sort of turning point? I want to mention a new survey from YouGov released just this week found that a majority of Americans, 52%, said they disapprove of ICE's actions. We've seen these growing demonstrations happening in the Bay Area and across the country. What is the effect of all that?
We'll see. You're getting the protests in places you would expect to see the protests, but this is a 50-state nation, and we'll see whether protests will make any difference here. It's a very, very controversial issue, but I would say for people, and I always say one of the great lines by Barack Obama was that elections have consequences. And one of the consequences here was the election of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was very clear about what he was going to do with respect to illegal immigration and these folks who are in the country. So nobody should be surprised about that. And the problem here is that these things always seem to go further and get more out of control than what is originally intended. And so now we're seeing violence on the ground, where in the case of Minneapolis, this woman was mixing it up with ICE agents, and one ICE agent obviously felt that his life was threatened. In Portland, you had a couple of people there shot as well who turned out to be in the country illegally, and in a dust-up with law enforcement there. So you have all these factors at play.
But on the issue of,
Brian,
sorry to interrupt, on the issue of immigration and the consequences of elections, and President Trump being pretty transparent about what he wanted to do with immigration before he was elected, there is a difference, though, among voters in terms of being opposed to illegal immigration and what we've seen happen with federal immigration agents and U.S. citizens in the past week.
Well, again, I think where you have U.S. citizens who are being arrested, obviously that's not right. But there's a bigger question, Allie, and the question is, where does this country stand on illegal immigration? And either Americans don't want that, or they say, hey, we want a modified approach to it. We don't know yet. All I'm saying is that we're not seeing anything different, really, than what President Trump talked about. And I'm not saying anybody should agree with that. I'm just saying that when people elect people, and they've been very clear about what they're going to do, people shouldn't be surprised about that.
Do you think this will continue to be an issue heading into this year's midterms?
Oh, yeah, yes. Well, this is the whole thing here, setting aside who's right, who's wrong, how much, how little. It is going to be a big issue in the 2026 midterms. And, if history is any indicator, the Democrats are going to do very, very well. And then a lot of this stuff will be debated more vociferously in Congress. And then you may see some changes in terms of immigration and enforcement. Right now, again, as I say, Republicans have control of the House of Representatives. They have control of the Senate.
Yeah, they have control of every branch of government. But let's look beyond the midterms to 2028 and the presidential election. This week, Governor Gavin Newsom gave his final State of the State address. Even though he's not made any official announcement, he's widely seen as a Democratic candidate for president. Looking at his speech and examining his speech through that lens, what stood out to you about it, or did anything?
Well, sure. He was defining what I think is the beginning of a presidential run. He took on the Trump administration right in the beginning. He did it again through the speech and closed with the same theme. I think he is going to very quickly, after his term ends next January, he will begin a full-on run for president. We will see him traveling around the country, working with other Democrats around the country to try to solidify his position or to try to gain a position as the leading candidate on the Democrat side of the aisle for President of the United States. Now, he still has a year to govern California, so he has to toggle between governing California and his presidential aspirations.
Well, we are out of time for now. We didn't even get to the subjects of Venezuela and Greenland. But, Brian, we're going to continue this conversation with you on Take Two this morning, which is our streaming show at 10 o'clock. So for now, thank you for your time, and we look forward to discussing more about a half hour from now on Take Two. Thanks, Brian.
Sounds good, Allie.